I appreciate that. All right. Well, I'm Tabitha Star. I'm a business coach and a rebel, a little bit of a naughty gal, and your guide in this revival for helping women stop shrinking, step into their voices, and start building a business that really matches the fire they have inside. I have an MBA. I've been a director of HR, director of finance, director of editorial, and a speaker at the Austin Witch Fest. I currently sit on a nonprofit board for a haunted home, and I work with some real life villains in this world. But in every role, every fight, every boundary, I it taught me that you have to have your voice. Voice is not optional, and your presence is not negotiable at all in this world. And that's what Emboldened is all about. It's falling in love with your voice, choosing audacity over approval, and realizing that you're already the woman who can take up this space, make bold moves, and run a business that truly holds her. So I would love for everybody to drop in the chat like something they're really looking forward to for today. I already checked mine by watching Practical Magic this morning, but um, all right. Are y'all ready for a little bit of a story time? Okay. So one of the biggest shifts I ever made on my journey as a businesswoman wasn't flashy, and it was really me like sticking my big toe. I'll give it a big toe into the world of setting boundaries and saying no in a time where I had swallowed and said yes to so many things to make other people comfortable. It was the quietest decision, but the loudest fight I've ever had. And it all circles back to this morning watching Practical Magic. Um, Sitting there watching, I mean, I feel like most of us in the room have had a little Practical Magic action in our lives. If you haven't watched Practical Magic, that's your homework assignment for tonight. Uh, so as I'm watching it, I realize this movie isn't just about witchcraft. It isn't just about women being punished for being different because they are outside of the norms. It's generation and generation of them showing us women that were bullied and shunned and told they didn't belong. Now, stripping back the witchcraft, it shows us a story that a lot of women experience today. It's women being punished for being different, women feeling uncomfortable. And I've definitely lived in that era for a long time, being uncomfortable with being different from everyone else and being told that you didn't quite fit this mold that we're supposed to be in. And whenever you step outside that mold, potentially there's backlash. And going up through high school, being the weird kid was never anybody's like funnest experience. um, and so sometimes it doesn't come from strangers on the internet being trolls. It doesn't come from, the town folk, rallying up some pitchforks. It can come from people that are really close to you. And one of the things that I realized, and it took me an embarrassing amount of time to realize what was my biggest thing that was holding me back from stepping into where I needed to be to achieve what I wanted in business. It came from my sister. So I'm going to take y'all on this little journey of the saddest little tale. No, me and my sister, we shared a friend group. We're very similar in age. We live in a very small town. And so for years, it was always me and her. I was her plus one for everything she did. Whatever she wanted to do, I was her ride or die. Even if I didn't quite want to do it, I was still down for the journey. If she told me I couldn't talk about certain things, I was like, you know what? Whatever makes you comfortable. She told me to stop talking about my job because my job made her uncomfortable because I made a little bit more money than she did. Whenever I left financial publishing and started getting super kinky with it and like stepping into the world of being spiritual and purchasing my first tarot deck, I know I broke the rule, but she told me not to write about it. And at the time I was blogging and super excited to share this journey. And she's like, don't write about it. Everybody's going to think you're a freak and that you're worshiping Satan. I was just like, oh my God, what if they do? And I felt like for the first time, I got this super fear of, well, my grandma's going to write me a really nasty card telling me that she hates me and thinks I'm a horrible person. Spoiler, grandma never wrote me a card. Uh, but I quit sharing that part of myself. And so the longer I checked this box into making her more comfortable, the more of myself I kind of closed off from the world. And here's where the sparks really kicked up is the more you try to smother them, they're still with a fire, it's still glowing underneath. So the cracks really started showing in little tiny ways. Like I stopped going to the bar with her because you've lived in a small town or seen a Hallmark movie, it's not the most joyous of fun. Unless the one guy's there needs, help being saved for Christmas. Never came across him. But I started getting my hair done by someone else, which was a huge no-no. And I started voicing that I didn't want to quite do things that she was always gung-ho on doing. And it kind of came to a head whenever I dropped by her house and I came in and I happened to hear her on the phone trash talking me with a lot of our friend group. And so it was in a moment where I realized I've been building over, like bending over backwards for a lot of people in my life and realizing they didn't exactly like me for me. And that me wasn't even who I truly was. And so it was just a realization of like, oh shit, it was my wake up call. And it wasn't a small thing. It was lots of little things together. And this is what I try to talk about a lot online because that's my visibility problem is I was worried people were talking about me and it turned out they were. But getting over that is the big part. So it really continued on because most people would be like, well, quit talking to your sister. Of course not. I'm not going to listen to reason. Um, it really came to after that, my child got really, really sick and ended up in the hospital for 10 days. And of course, my friend group didn't come by. It was people that I knew from elementary came by to check on me. People, some of my new friends that are still in my life today and I'm obsessed with are here with me, helping me through this time. But my sister never came by. And it was just like one of those moments where you start to realize like things aren't adding up for some reason. And then it came to, it wasn't that my sister didn't come to my child, and help me whenever my child was being in the hospital. It ended up everything, the big meltdown, my big boundary, the change in my life where I quit being this, I'm going to please everybody, was whenever I quit babysitting. So I used to have this really embarrassing habit, and I can't believe I'm admitting this, of whenever I was asked to babysit, and let's say I just didn't feel like it, sometimes I would be actually sick or possibly hungover. I would lie. And not only would I lie, I'd be like, I'm going out of town. And I would leave my home and physically go to another place. So it wasn't, I mean, it started as a lie, but it ended up as a truth. And so this time I was just like, you know what? My kids just home from the hospital. I have shit going down in my life. I can't. No, I'm not gonna do it. And so I didn't add like any, I wasn't like, I can't say no excuses. And holy hell, was that the moment where the good girl died. I didn't realize how big putting a smaller boundary in place would change a situation. But it ended up my sister was spoiling for a fight. And I know we've all been guilty of it. I have sent novel texts before. Scroll for 25 minutes reading everything. And I was like, you know what? Why don't you come over? We'll talk about it like adults. And we got here, and it was at that moment whenever I stepped outside, it was a moment where I realized I wasn't going to back down to make anybody else comfortable anymore. And it was just such a strange, it's babysitting that is changing this for me. But I stepped outside and I'm from South Texas. We had a redneck argument on the front yard screaming match, which I'm sure all of my neighbors really enjoy. We're front porch sitters down here, but a scream match. And my like setting boundaries was literally me screaming, I am setting healthy boundaries to my sister. And that was the last time we spoke. And since then, Like, I'll truly not recommend doing any of that. I don't recommend screaming on your front porch. You don't have to yell at somebody to set boundaries. But for me, it was the moment that cracked me open and realized that this fight wasn't just me saying no. It was me rebirthing. I was giving up the good girl who lied, who deleted her spark, who stayed super small for approval. She was gone. And it was this whole other person that was outside that day who set boundaries, put things into place that she wouldn't have dared to do prior. And one of them was just being really loud outside. And so it is you don't need a big magical story. Mine is being a true redneck moment, but it's that spark that set forth this revival for me. And it's all started with one word of no. No, I'm no longer going to be the person you want me to be. So sometimes it's quiet, or sometimes it's really loud, but that's why we're all here this week to find this spark, to find your boundaries and start letting yourself catch fire again and step into your power and your voice as a woman and create a version of you that's truly supported by your business. And so, on that note, I am going to hand over to the wonderful Kate, who is going to teach us what success feels like in the body. And I am going to take this little thing off the top of you. There we go. To unmute.
There we go. Hi, everybody. It's so funny. After listening to what you just shared, Tabitha, I'm like, oh, there's so many other things I could talk on. We're going in that direction. But I have something I already want to talk about today. And I loved this invitation from Tabitha because I took the summer off from speaking and facilitating because my partner and I just bought 52 acres and we did this whole moving in process into this whole big, expansive dream life that we finally are like walking into and creating and all of this. So I told everyone, I was like, I am taking the summer off from facilitating. So this is kind of my first time back. And so when she asked me, I was like, yes, this is the momentum I need to get back in to kick off this fall season. So I'm excited to be here today, and I'm going to share with you guys something that is coming up a lot with my clients, with my community. And it's a really beautiful, nuanced topic. But before I get into it, since Tabitha did such a wonderful introduction of herself, I'll introduce myself a little bit via the way Tabitha did. Um, I am someone that gets a lot of feedback that I come off very confident, very expressive. A lot of my business is all about self-expression. That was not always the case. I was the child that would run out of the classroom if I was called on by the teacher. I would fake sick to avoid birthday parties. I hated groups. I had the hardest time with social dynamics. I had so much social anxiety. I couldn't get up in front of a group or even speak in front of class without like shaking. That was my somatic response. And so that all led me to getting a master's in leadership studies, which was very edgy for me because I had just graduated from undergrad at University of San Diego and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I had started a meditation group and I was teaching mindfulness and meditation to college students twice a week. And then I started interning for this PhD student at the leadership program at University of San Diego. And he goes, you got to be in this program. I'm like, leadership? Ugh, it sounds like really stressful and like the opposite of what my entire body, my entire nervous system really wants. But then I thought, maybe that's why I need it. I need to go and be immersed in an academic theory and practice environment that helps me to really get clear on how, not only how I want to be, but how do I want to be received? How do I truly want to make impact on the world? because for my whole life up until then, I always felt so misunderstood. I was kind of this very socially awkward girl who really meant well, who just loved animals. I'm a Cancer. I just loved animals and I wanted everyone to just love and get along. But then I struggled with so much rage inside. And so I always had this kind of like weird oscillation between coming off as this like loving and caring person, but then also my rage would like seep out. And it would come out through tonality. It would come out in kind of bluntness. I was thinking I was being transparent and authentic, but how come all these people are interpreting me as a bitch or a brat or something, or the way that I did not want to be received, that I did not want to come off that way? So I learned that part of this work, this embodiment work, is getting really clear on how you want to be received, and then looking at all the ways within the psychosomatics of it. Where am I still holding stories? Unprocessed trauma, which is where a lot of rage comes from, unprocessed trauma, and all these kind of creepy crawly stories that prevent us from being seen and understood and received and felt in the way that we truly want. And so, so much of success, and when I say success, I don't just mean like, dollar bills. I don't just mean like money in the bank. I mean success in relationships, success in loving yourself, success in being able to walk into a room and talk to anybody because you feel that level of confidence in yourself. And confidence can also kind of be broken down into, what the heck does that mean? A lot of people say, I come off very confident. And I'm like, that wasn't always the case. I've been plagued with self-doubt because I was having all of this confirmation around me of, oh, you're not coming off the way you want to be caught. So I'm like, I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself to say the things I want to say and to show up and be and look and all these things that I thought were all well intentioned, but they weren't translating. And so that's when I decided to get really clear on what does success actually mean to me and what does it feel like? What is confidence? If we break it down, what actually is confidence? What does it actually feel like? And this is where I want to talk about two things today. I want to talk about, as I kind of mentioned in the promotional things, repressed emotions are inflammatory. I'm going to go into kind of the high level psychosomatics around that. Um, but then I really want to talk about how feeling secure and safe is going to help you to do all these things that are really hard to do. So you can't bypass what your body hasn't processed. Say it again. You can't bypass what your body hasn't processed. And I think we live in this world of a lot of bypassing, a lot of cognitive dissonance. And it's not our fault. This has just become normalized in our society of bypassing by going, ooh, that looks pretty and shiny, or ooh, look at that identity. I'm going to adorn that. I'm going to adorn it, but am I really embodying it? And I think that's the big question mark. And that's why, I've woven in and out of the kind of the conscious, now I call them unconscious, but the conscious community, the new age spiritual community. I've woven in and out of kind of like the Burning Man crowd, all of that. And I say woven out, and I kind of have a little bit of satirical, right, tonality around it because I found so much spiritual bypassing in there that I normalized it. And I thought for the longest time, like, oh, everyone is so supportive and they're just, oh, the cuddle puddles and the this and, oh, sister, I see you. And, oh, brother, let me. And I bring a little sense of humor to it because we all need to laugh about it. But it just got to the point where it was like, okay, how come this person is saying all the right things, but I am feeling something much different from them? How come their life is chaos. When they are preaching embodiment, nervous system regulation, tantric this, spiritual yum yum that, and their life is chaos and they don't feel authentic. They're saying all the right words, they're looking the part, great crystals, whatever, but something feels off. And where is that feeling coming from in my body that I'm detecting that? I'm going, and it starts to almost create this questioning of your own reality, of your own sanity, your own intuition. And then my favorite part is when they start to gaslight you and go, oh, you have boundaries? Oh, that means you are so attached to your own ego. Oh, you don't believe in polyamory? Oh, you're so limited in your consciousness. There becomes this like judgment that's hidden beneath all of these really pretty words and what I like to call essentially just circle jerking. So, so there's a big echo chamber. And I bring this up because this is some of my own personal experience of noticing what Tabitha was, really getting clear on is how can we find our voice in an authentic way? How can we embolden ourselves in a way that is authentic? It's not saying something because we think it's pretty and we're supposed to say that, but how can people not just hear us, but feel us? And that's what my work really focuses on is being felt for who we truly are and being able to use that incredible embodiment detector for bullshit. So you can't bypass what your body hasn't processed because when we meet people on an unconscious level, we're scanning for posture, we're scanning facial expressions, we are scanning what people are doing with how they shift their weight, how they mirror their hands. There's so many different embodiment unconscious processes that we are constantly taking in as we go, hi, it's nice to meet you. And we're listening to their words, but what we're doing more of is we're feeling and we're sensing. And you might walk away from it in an interaction going, I don't know why, but that person rubbed me the wrong way. I can't put my finger on it, but that was awkward. That was weird. And we've all been the person that someone walked away from being like, well, that was weird. They're weird. We've all been there. We've all rubbed people the wrong way. And so, what I want to get into today is a little bit about what we can do for all of these unconscious programs running through our body. How can we start to become aware of them? What can we do and use some of these yummy, yummy therapeutic I like saying yummy a lot today. Yum, yum, yum. Psychosomatic therapeutic techniques, because I am a big fan of not just intervention when we're already in the chaos, when we're already in the doubt, when we're already spiraling. Okay, intervention, yay, lots of somatic interventions out there. You go on Instagram and Google it or whatever, look it up, but prevention. And that's where my success in my business has come from is I went viral about almost, yeah, a year ago. I went viral for a year ago. And it was for, get this, very emboldened, writing pillows for hip mobility practices. Yes, I have thousands of women hopping on pillows, getting on pillows and tilting their hips, undulating their spine, allowing our pelvises to rotate in a way that activates something called the vagus nerve that allows breath, sound, movement, all of these things to get our bodies bouncing, shaking, and going in a way that is so liberating, that is not performative. And it's all about experiencing ourselves and all the incredible magic that we hold in our bodies. So I went viral for that because it was taboo and very bold. And I had to deal with a lot of hate from the internet being like, this is disgusting. Your parents would be ashamed of yourself because people automatically sexualized it. When really, if they read the caption or anything else on it, this is not about sexuality. This is about pelvic floor, pelvic bowl, hip mobility, tilts, spine, allowing ourselves to really connect to the incredible womb, intuition, and power that women hold in their bodies that we are just so used to closing and dimming and blocking because that's what we've been taught. So, that's how I got to found my success. I got really freaking bold, got on some pillows and started making some videos because I really believe in it. And I teach an in-person class here in Utah, where we don't use pillows, we use bolsters, like yoga bolsters. You'll never look at bolsters the same way in your yoga class. But as we do, we ride it, we music, it is just it's so much fun because so much of this work is about celebration and having fun and pleasure and enjoyment. And how can we do that in a way that doesn't bypass, but we are really getting into the depths of our pain and the issues. So we're not just like, woo, bypassing fun, pleasure, yum, 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 yum. That's just going to be a theme today. I'm going to go with it because there's a lot of yum today. But how can we get into the most painful parts? Oh my God. My cat is on my balcony and she's an outdoor cat and I have no idea how she got there. Sorry. There's like a big, oh my gosh, I don't know how she's on the balcony. There's no way she could have gotten out there. Sorry, I'm having like a little bit of a mama cat moment. Okay, anyway, we're coming back here. She's safe. She's fine. Figure out how she got there after the call. So we are being able to understand how to move energy through our body to get clear on how we're coming off, to find that feeling of safety and security so that we are unshakable and we can tolerate the pain and hold the pain to process, metabolize, integrate. And then from there, that integration is what allows us to be resilient. So let's talk a little bit about taking risks, building resilience, because then that's when we can hold the capacity in of discomfort in our bodies. And that's why many of us don't do what we do because we don't have the nervous system capacity that matches the level of growth we want. So we stay small. Expansion and growth feels unfamiliar at first. And so we are uncomfortable and we have to train ourselves and our body to tolerate it until it becomes a familiar and feels good, right? Fake it till you become it. That's a kind of play on fake it till you make it. I really liked that, the fake it till you become it. And that was like this old TED Talk, one of the first TED Talks about presence. And I always remembered that. Fake it till you become it, because if you practice embodiment, you will become it. It's just how it works. We adapt. So this is what our practice will be about today. But first, I want to go a little bit back into what I mean by repressed emotions are inflammatory. So symptoms of inflammation, brain fog, fatigue, slow metabolism, hormonal imbalances, all the way to mental health, right? Low energy levels, low motivation, even a lack of being able to really feel enjoyment, feel pleasure. These are all symptoms of inflammation in the body. So surprisingly, both of these impact the way others experience us, from their own biases, their own judgment, all the way to unconsciously feeling something is off, right? When they're around you. So we live in a very cruel world that is based entirely on the senses and even felt sense, right? Like I was saying before, the felt sense of something is awkward, something rubs me the wrong way. And of course, this is another unique dimension that I get into in my types of psychosomatics, but we don't have time to go into that today. But if you're interested, we can always connect later on that. But a lot of senses, a lot of feeling, a lot of felt sense, a lot of intuition, and how it actually shows up somatically in the body. It's very fascinating. So when we have inflammation happening in our body, the systems aren't actually working properly. That's our sign We aren't feeling good. Inflammation. Why we have inflammation. It could be diet or exercise. Like we've heard about all of those types of things, but it could also be most likely different stories of pain we are holding in our body. And our body believes something that is causing the body to feel stress. We feel stress, we inflame. So we aren't safe, we aren't enough, right? Fill in the blank to whatever story it is that we have. I'm not lovable, goes on and on. If you're here, you're probably aware that you have some type of those stories running on repeat in a feedback loop, right? Somewhere. So these stories, this inflammation that prevents you from really being able to be who you want to be. And doctors will tell you to take this and that and the other, but what they don't recommend is exploring your trauma. And trauma isn't just a horrible car accident or physical abuse. Trauma can be sneaky. It can be watching your parents get divorced. It could be having chronic health issues from a young age. Experiences that the brain said, whoa, this is too much to keep up here. And the body said, I have the ancient technology to hold it in this web material called fascia all over my body, and I will be the protector. The brain can only process so much. So that's why a lot of people are left feeling like they still have stuff going on even after they do talk therapy. So many of them come to me and they ask, why is my body still having this reaction? I did the work. I forgave my parents. Why am I still sabotaging my relationships? Why am I still not experiencing the success I am working so hard for? And it's because we're taught to look more at like strategy gaps and not really the stories of pain and terror that we're still holding in our body. So we're told, oh, just learn this breathing technique and your nervous system will be regulated. Not, oh, go hire a professional somatic practitioner that can hold you through discovering, understanding, releasing, integrating your pain. So it's not left in this wreaking havoc from the inside out. Most people just want the quick fixes. And unfortunately, it's just not how we're wired. So that's where true somatics comes in. It's not just this therapeutic intervention when you're already in the depths of the chaos, but we want to focus on prevention, doing daily practices, working with someone who really knows their way around the body and the subconscious mind. That's when you start to understand what success actually feels like in your body. It feels like expansion. It feels like I can hold this. I can feel the fear and do it anyway. That was a mantra that really got me over the initial hump of terror in my life in my leadership program. So I did a master's in leadership studies, and then I went on and did a master's in psychosomatic dance movement therapy. And being able to speak in front of people was so hard. But I remember the moments when like, okay, Kate, it's your turn to, facilitate or the class or to give a presentation or whatever. I was like, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I would just go, fuck it, just do it. And I'd have what I like to call a self-dialogue dance, where I'm like, okay, Kate, I know, but we're just going to do it. We're going to do it. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Just do it, just do it, just do it. And sure enough, with all my various somatic techniques, here I am, not being fearless, but being able to tolerate discomfort and get out of my own way. Now, there's something that happens after the fact of doing this, and that also requires care. Ooh, aftercare, because you did just dom yourself. So we need aftercare. So your mind is going to start to run. Was that a dumb thing to say? Was that taken out of context? Do I look awkward? Oh my God, I'm a terrible person. I need to never do that again, right? We have all of the after thoughts So instead, we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to do this practice because this is the practice that all my clients love. This is something I teach in my client exercises when I'm doing this special here today because They love it so much. Excuse me. And it's something that's so relevant in our time, in this time of how do we embolden ourselves while also still taking care of ourselves so we're not having these emotional hangovers, these vulnerability hangovers. So, I'm going to invite you, ladies, to sit, find a nice, comfortable seated posture, allow your spine to elongate, and just find your moment, settle in, get those sits bones on the bed or the floor, whatever it is, and then just gently close your eyes. And just take a moment here. I just shared a lot of information. Just take a moment to just scan in your mind what really stood out to you that I said. What really was like, whoa, oh, I needed to hear that. Or wow, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Or, oh, I'm so bored. Is she done yet? Anything that's fine. And just allow your mind to scan what really stood out to you. And once you really get clear on this is what stood out to me, I want you to drop into your body and notice where you feel it in your body. Nice deep breaths. Let it land. Allow your awareness to slowly float from the mind down, down, down into your body. And maybe the thought or the sensation isn't necessarily landing anywhere in your body. That's okay too. But just notice where your mind goes to in your body. Where in your body does your attention get sucked to? And just breathe there into that particular part of the body here for a moment. I'm going to talk just a little bit more as you close your eyes and breathe before we get right into the practice. So the trick with psychosomatics, and if someone is teaching somatics to you and they're not talking about pendulation, then they're not talking about healing in a somatic way. Pendulation is the foundation of psychosomatic healing. Because what is happening in the body is we constantly are in a state of expansion and contraction. So even here, as your eyes are closed, you can notice your lungs expand and contract as you breathe. Your colon is doing this thing called peristalsis, which is expanding and contracting as it pumps food through the colon, eliminating toxins. The heart is even expanding and contracting as it pumps. So, what happens when we are experiencing fear, terror, stress is our whole body contracts. And you might notice this, especially as Tabitha was talking about with the voice. We've all had that experience where we want to say something, then our throat feels like it closes. We get like a lump in our throat. That's a contraction, right? We call it a somatic signature, contraction. Or if we are grieving or we are hurt, we can feel our chest, the ache in our chest. That's a contraction of the muscles. Or we feel unsafe. It's a contraction in our tummies. Or the less obvious contractions, which is what somatics is really all about, is bringing our awareness down. And this is where I like to focus, is in the hips, contraction in the hips, in the vaginal canal, our cervix, our womb, all of these areas in the whole pelvic bowl that contract and lead to so many other symptoms, which I'm not getting into today, but that's really kind of where I specialize, if that's relevant to you. You can scroll through my Instagram after this. But There are so many different, very obvious and acute contractions happening in our body. And some are really good. They're needed, right? We need the contraction in the heart. We need the contraction in the colon. But the areas where it starts to get in the way is when that contraction feels so uncomfortable in our body that it prevents us from doing what we want to do, from being received the way we want to be received. We want to be received as open, as soft, as radiant, as magnetic. And that can't happen if our body is in a state of either acute or indirect, more hidden contraction. And stress and inflammation are all about contraction. So, what we're going to do right now is a pendulation exercise of contraction and expansion. So, we're going to make fists with our hands and we're going to put them right in the center of our chest. And we're going to tighten, tighten, tighten our fist, tighten, 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 tighten. You can even hunch over your shoulders, hunch, 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 tuck in your chin and just contract as much as you possibly can. And as you contract here, I want you to really just notice what are the thoughts and feelings that come up in your mind as you contract and make yourself small. Tighten, 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 tighten. How do you feel here? Just notice, just observe. Good. And now we're going to slowly release the hands, slowly uncurl our spines, and we are going to expand our arms up in like a nice big star. Expand those arms up, even expand your hands all the way to your fingertips, opening, 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 opening up the throat, the chest, elongating the neck, the chin up, 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 up towards the sky. Expand, expand, expand. And just notice as you expand here, notice how you feel. Notice what thoughts come into your mind. And sometimes at first, this expansion can feel really vulnerable. And that's a beautiful sign from your body saying, this is unfamiliar. This feels vulnerable. I don't know if we're safe up in here. So good. Now we're going to pendulate back. We're going to come back down. We're going to make the fists come back down to the center of the chest. Tighten, tighten, tighten right here. Tighten, 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 squeeze, 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 squeeze. Come back here and go, now does this feel safer? And just notice here if this feels safe, or maybe this is feeling constricting. Just notice what your experience is here. And then we're going to open, 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 open all the way up, expanding back out, up here, up here, up here. And when you're back up here, I want you to notice this time. Okay, this is unfamiliar, but we've done it once before. So we know this unfamiliar feeling. I want you to just let yourself know that you're safe. And once you really give yourself that permission for expansion is safe, growth is safe, see if there's any other thoughts or feelings, sensations that come in of, oh, I actually feel really free. I feel really strong. Just notice if any of those are there. And starting to kind of turn from unfamiliar, unsafe to, oh, this isn't so bad. I kind of like it up here. And we're going to come back down though. Down, 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 squeeze, 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 down into the center of your chest. Tighten, tighten, tighten. Clench those fists. You could even purse your lips or clench your face. Tighten your jaw. A lot of us just clench our jaws all day long. Clench, clench, clench. Tighten, tighten, tighten. Even the tummy. You can involve the tummy, the whole body if you wants to tighten, tighten, tighten. And while you're here this time, start to notice if this doesn't feel so much as it safe as it feels uncomfortable and hard and exhausting. It is takes so much energy to constantly be in a state of contraction. So feel how hard you have to work to contract everything. Tighten, 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 tighten. Tighten, 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 and expand. Up, 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 and out. Opening up the arms, opening up the hands, the fingertips. Open, 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 open. Relax your belly. Relax your jaw. Relax your tongue. Relax your throat, your heart, your chest, all the way down to your root, relaxing your pelvic floor and your hips. Now notice, how do I feel here? Let's take a nice collective breath together in through the nose. Big open mouth, exhale, release. Now with sound in through the nose. Open mouth, exhale with sound, release. One more deep breath in through the nose. Hold at the top. Expand a little bit more, expand a little bit more. Soften a little bit more, soften, soften, soften. And open mouth, exhale with sound, release. And slowly bringing your hands and arms down into your lap. And joining us back here at the screen. So that is an incredible exercise to do when you are feeling the fear and you want to do it anyway. All these old stories of I'm not good enough, I need to stay small, clench, 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 clench. Let your body give it permission to feel all of those stories, feel all that contraction, and then give it something opposite. Expand. Expand, take up space, allow yourself to go, I am safe. Even though it feels unfamiliar, it is safe to expand, it is safe to take up space. And let your body physically feel that, to bring up that capacity to tolerate uncomfortable sensation. And the more you can do that, that oscillation, that pendulation, the more your body is going to go, oh, it is safe. I can take more risks. I can be more bold. I can rise to these challenges because I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. So, thank you so much, ladies, for joining me here today and participating in this and listening to all of this. I'll just share one last thing. If you liked all of this, message me on Instagram. It is rhythm.rose. I'm also all over Tabitha's Instagram. Message me. Tell me what you liked about this. Ask me any questions. I'm so here to help. Scroll through my, videos, reels, pages, Instagram. I have a lot of content on there. I have classes in my link in bio. Plenty of classes to give a try. You can try the rolling on the pillows. It's called Rhythm
I
Alchemy in
always suggest.
bed. Give it a try. And finally, one last thing, because I am very nerdy about gut health. A dear friend of mine, and she is a incredible functional medicine doctor in Los Angeles. We are teaming up together, and we are doing a 4-part virtual series called Gut Feelings, where we are intersecting functional medicine gut health with psychosomatics because the root of a lot of our gut health is stress and the nervous system. So, message me, reach out, say hi. I'd love to meet you and chat with you. And Tabitha, thank you so much for having me here today.
And I'm going to include all of Kate's information in the replay email tonight. So that way, if you didn't catch it whenever she said it, I'll have her Instagram as well as her website included in the replay email. So don't be a stranger to Kate. All right. Thank you so much. So before we go, I want to kind of join us into a little bit of exercise. I'm not going to call it homework, but a little assignment for tonight. Um, when Kate started talking about being comfortable, feeling safe, I feel like we as women often not confuse the words, but being comfortable and making other people feel comfortable. It feels safe. It's playing very safe. However, it makes us extremely uncomfortable, and stepping outside our comfort zone also feels uncomfortable. But I feel like we associate this being bold, stepping into this, the openness, stepping into this safety. We're also at the same time associating it with things like doing a hike with a pebble in your shoe, like something you feel uncomfortable in your body. But there's a different sensation from that where you're going to end up just a little foot health, take your shoe off and get the pebble out. But whenever it's in your body and you're stepping out and doing this bold thing, which is so important, especially when you're in business, when you're being more visible, you're being more open, you're taking up more space. It's you feel uncomfortable in the moment, but after you do it, it's a whole different type of ecstasy that you're experiencing from this step outside of your comfort zone, from this new sense of safety, because you expanded what it feels like to be safe. And there's something so delicious and yummy about that. And so that's something I constantly, and at some point, I am going to find a better word for it. I constantly make myself uncomfortable, which sounds like I sleep on like a bed of nails. But it's like I live off the feeling of like, oh shit, that felt so good. Every time I step outside of my little zone of crouch down at safety, because I lived way too much of my life curled up in that little ball. And that was such a beautiful exercise, Kate, um, because I was like, oh my God, this feels so familiar. I knew this feeling for years. And it's amazing that when you operate from that sphere, the amount of growth that happens is well zero. And you're wondering why things haven't changed for you. It's because you've been like that for years. So I'm also going to put this in the group chat and it'll also be included in the email. But I would love everyone after this to think about what have they been tolerating in their life? What do they secretly want? What is something that makes them uncomfortable in the way of walking in stilettos up a hill? And what makes them feel good and uncomfortable at the same time? Let's say daring, what daring thing would make you feel uncomfortable, but also good? And just word vomit, put it all down, truly touch these spaces in yourself and be really raw with it. You can choose to share it with others. You can put it in the group, or you can keep it in your diary. You can rip it up. You can throw it away. But step into this part of yourself. What part of you have you been living in to make other people comfortable and making yourself uncomfortable at the same time? And what uncomfortable things have you been avoiding that will make you feel more orgasmic, more healthy, more expanded, more like this? And on that note, I am going to close this down today, and I will see y'all at 7 p.m. And Kate, everybody check her out, please. And I'll have all of her information in the replay email. And this will not be the first time you hear from Kate. So she has a little surprise we're going to talk about later in the week. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'll see y'all at 7 p.m. Central. Thank you.